Good morning, dear audience and esteemed panelists. A warm welcome to all of you to one of the most important topic in current scenario, rebooting organizational compliance post-COVID-19. Compliance, or what we call the regulatory cholesterol in India, comprises of 1,536 Act, 69,233 compliances, and 6,618 filings and intimation. The Companies Act 2013 has made the board and management liable for non-compliance. It's become critical for senior management to get higher visibility and great control over compliance operations. The ever-changing compliance law makes it difficult to keep a track, checks and balances. Adding to it, this unprecedented situation has forced every organization to rethink and relook at how they operate, where they operate, and with whom they can operate. Time to give a serious thought before you press the button reboot. I'm Prashant Singh, and I take care of compliance and payroll outsourcing business for TeamLease. I'm going to be the moderator for today's discussion. We will have 45 to 50 minutes of discussion, followed with 15 minutes of question and answer session. Today, we have with us 4 subject matter experts, industry specialists, and senior executives from various sectors who would share their thoughts and advice on this subject. Let me introduce them. Mr. Govindaraju. He is the General Manager and Head of HR for Kern-Liebers India Private Limited. He is based out of Bangalore and is an avid blogger and speaker on labor laws and industrial relations. He has a YouTube channel where he shares his insights on this subject very often. We have Mr. Sanjeeb Lahiri. He is the Chief Human Resource Officer for GRP Limited. He is based out of Mumbai. He is visiting faculty in various B schools, industry forums, and associated with professional institutions. He has worked with different Tata Group companies for last 20 years before joining GRP. We have Mr. MS Venkatesh. He should be joining in a moment. He is the Chief Human Resource Officer for DFM Foods Limited. He is based out of Delhi. He carries varied experience in industries like healthcare, education, FMCG, and beverages. He has worked for Hinduja Group Hospital, Unilever, and Coke-like brands before joining DFM Foods. We have with us Mr. Vivek Tripathi. He is the Chief Human Resource Officer for Biba Apparels Private Limited. He is based out of Gurgaon. He is an XLRI alum and carries varied experience in telecom, IT and ITES, and consultancy. He has worked for brands like Lava, Airtel, Motorola before joining Biba. I welcome them all once again. With this, good morning everyone. With this, I would like to start the panel discussion for all of you now. And my first question would go to Mr. Vivek Tripathi. Mr. Tripathi, the question is, rearranging the workforce has become the need of the time. What are the top 3 things which an organization needs to keep in mind?
Thank you, Prashant. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity to be on this panel. Really appreciate it. I come from the retail industry, so what I'm going to say might be more relevant there, but I think it is probably applicable to other industries also. I think it is a really unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. And obviously, companies have to reopen, they have to restart operations, they have to come back, in a sense, from the disruption that was caused by this pandemic and the lockdown. So the top 3 things would be firstly the safety of the employees and the customers. I mean, I can relate this to what we are doing. We are a retail company which has about 400 stores, pan-India. Now, for 3 months, our stores were closed. And it is only recently, by middle of June, that we started reopening our stores. But before we did that, we had to be very sure that we gave confidence to our employees and we gave confidence to our customers that it was safe to come to the store or it was safe to come to the office. So very detailed safety protocols, which frankly speaking did not exist earlier, were put in place. There was a lot of investment made on training to ensure that our employees were well versed with those protocols. We did dry runs, and then we finally started opening our stores. So that's one very important point. Second point is that, even in the short run, there is a change in the customer behavior. And there are also changes which have happened in the value chain. For example, we as an organization are primarily into fashion, and we make garments which are used for festivals and occasions, festive wear, occasion wear. That is our core, product line. But in this situation where everybody is locked up, everybody is in their homes, and people are very few people are even going to the office, we had to quickly turn and make some changes in our product portfolio also. So we came out with a line of sleeping wear. We came out with a line of loungewear, because we realized that our traditional product line is not probably as relevant in this, at least in the short run, as is required. So we had to make some changes there. We also had to take into account the fact that our suppliers, where we get our products made, what were the challenges they were facing? And we kind of re-engineered our complete value chain and supply chain, looked at our margins, looked at a lot of other things so that we stay relevant in this situation. So I think re-looking at the value chain is another point. And the third is that I think adoption of technology is going to be very important. For example, when we also realized that our e-commerce footprint, which was 10-12% earlier, has jumped up threefold. That's the only channel which is doing much better than any other channel. So how do we quickly, enhance our capabilities there? So we have seen that technology will play a very important role in even in the short run. So these would be the three areas where we have to do some rearranging.
Right. I think a very relevant point. Let's hear from else. So Mr. Venkatesh has joined. Welcome, Venkatesh. You were, just possibly we couldn't introduce you that time. So what is your thought process, or what do you think, are the top three things which needs to be kept in mind from your side?
I think, thank you, Prashant, and sorry for being late. I guess it's raining in Gurgaon, and possibly that's the reason I couldn't join earlier. I think I would support Vivek, and so most of the things, I work for a company called DFM Foods, which has been there for the last 34 years. It's been acquired by Advent Equity Fund about 6 months back, or 4-5 months back, and I've joined this company on the March of 2nd. And as soon as I joined, within about 15-20 days, the lockdown happened. So we have 2 factories, one in Ghaziabad, one in Greater Noida. Of course, we have officers, distributors, and C&Fs across the country, and employees in the sales, employees in the plant. So obviously, we had to lock down from 25th of March, if I'm not mistaken, or 24th of March till around April 9th. And post that, we had permission from the local authorities, and that was the first, action point that we all got together as a management team and got that going, saying that we are a food industry, so we need to be allowed to operate to ensure continuous supply chain. So as we did that, the responsibility of ensuring safety of employees, engagement of employees, productivity of employees was the most important thing. So as Vivek mentioned, that very quickly we had the safety rules quickly, designed, drafted, and communicated to everyone. And we had a couple of open forums. Basically, we had to train employees on what are the safety rules, how does it operate, how does one get to do what to do, and what is the incident management, etc. So we had a couple of things. So the workmen started coming. The contract labor were all largely migrant labor. They had to move out, and there were restrictions saying that on the percentage of people who could be deployed. So safety regulations were very quickly from a management side implemented very, very strictly, including social distancing, sanitization of the environment, ensuring product safety, all of those things we did. Then the second thing we did was also to get a doctor on board. So obviously there was a doubt saying that, hey, listen, why do you have to get a doctor into the factory? No, we don't have to go to a doctor because you don't know whether doctor could be already infected with COVID. Possibly he will create more issues in the plant rather than. So that was another. So we had to talk to the doctor, ensure the doctors came from, a sanitized environment, all of those things. So we had a paramedic and doctor available in the hospital, although the offices were closed almost till June. And
Okay.
so in Noida, so all what we did was engaging with employees through the, we had a Blue Jeans app that we all have. So all the employees, critical employees were identified. I have about 555 employees in the organization. So whoever had to be given a laptop, whoever had to be given access in terms of the S&D billing, all of those things were worked out. And people had to be provisioned with the Wi-Fi connectivity, etc. And in that, in terms of monetary aspect also, we had to take care of all of those things. We had to reimburse all of those, and continuous talking with people, and also obviously the work that they had to do. If we had to say something, we had to walk the talk. So it's very easy to say that workers have to come to the plant, though we had the permission, we had, given transportation support, we had given safety support, all of those. And it was also important that the management team members also went to the factory and people went to the offices to ensure office infrastructure was changed largely, because hardly people came. But if people had to come, though it was restricted to around 15-20% of them, they had to be feeling safe. So
Okay.
that was also done in the office in a very, very quick turnaround time.
Okay.
So basically, these were some things that we did. And obviously,
Right.
we had to interpret on people's apprehension, whether they will get their salaries, and all of those things were addressed through open forum. So we have done almost about 4 town halls till date. And now it's, getting used to the abnormal seems to be the new normal. So now we are slowly getting used to it. And
Right.
obviously,
So
there are some
we will.
downsides and upsides to it as well. We can
Yeah,
talk
so
about.
we'll talk about this new normal in next question, but let's hear from Sanjeeb. A quick, Sanjeeb, a minute from you. What is your organization or your interpretation about those things?
Okay, yeah, morning all, and it's indeed a privilege to be on this with the esteemed panelists. So very quickly, I represent manufacturing at large, but my organization GRP, we are into 47th year of our business, and we are one of the largest rubber recyclers in the country and one in the world as well. Now, when the moment I would utter the word recycling, it's a very different industry as such, simply because of the processes and the number on the sheer extent of people involved. Processes are largely manual, and the plants are in a little offbeat place, if I may say so, simply because the nature of the industry, yeah, and a huge amount of compliances from all sides. Overall staff strength is about, say, 1,200, out of which predominantly 90% are my blue collar, brothers and sisters in the shop floor, very honestly. Now, come 23rd of March, shut the gates, yeah, and so therefore that transition for us had to be made just in a jiffy. We were contemplating it. It's not that we were not. We were contemplating it in the head office in Mumbai, where we have about 80 people, and so therefore we had some time to actually make people aware, arrange for the IT provision, so on and so forth. Yeah, give people a laptop. At times the office computers were sent home, yeah, and so on and so forth. But we started communicating about this a couple of weeks ago. So while all of these was going on and the plants were shut, there were a couple of issues came. So I have to repeat whatever Vivek and I think Venki has said so far. Communication was definitely the key, assuring people that, guys, this is a situation, but don't panic. You have to take care of yourself. A lot of, I think I myself used to send out a lot of, emails, a lot of calls. Yeah, we had our engagement fun Fridays as such also that started coming in. But as I say, whatever we did was for people with connectivity. My majority of my workforce was without connectivity. So there my managers managers, supervisors at that level had to ensure that cascade. But very, very quickly, three things. It was one, to keep the communication channels open, tell them what is going on, both from an organization perspective, plus the information in terms of, what they must do to keep them healthy. We have been always saying that, guys, you have to be healthy first. Yeah. Once plants started open, same way, social distancing and all of those parameters, we had to undergo some rationalization, etc. Whatever I think all industries have gone through. But they're a little support to the people in terms of regular talking, bringing them up to board, telling them why and how to cope up.
Right. Thanks, Sanjeeb. Let's hear from Govind. We have multiple questions to ask to you, so we'll have to possibly concise it in a little shorter time. So Govind, over to you. What is your view on this?
Good morning, Prashant, and good morning to all the participants. I think I support the views of all the panelists, but basically coming from a manufacturing industry, this was a new situation. One thing is you have to manage your entry and exit properly because of the COVID-19 situation, to make sure that you don't get into the infection inside, including your sanitization efforts, everything. And another challenge which everybody faced was maintaining the social distancing, because in a manufacturing industry and where there is a labor-oriented industry, this is actually a radical change, because दो गज की दूरी. How do you maintain this दो गज की दूरी in your factory if you are a labor-oriented, labor-intensive industry? So this has led to a very huge, workplace or work layout changes, which we will talk about in detail also when this question comes. And other one is also exploring the possibilities from work from home, because you have to have lesser people in the workplace, and then even though wherever it is possible, you have to make sure that the work from home possibility is explored. So these are the few things I think the workplace related changes I would see, other than the panelists spoke about it.
So just to summarize a quick one from all four of you, what I have written down. So safety of employee and clients or customers are the primary most important thing first. Second, adoption of technology, which looks to me that everybody is getting into that. And third, I think abiding by law of the land is also critical in terms of whether it's work from home or the rules and regulations set by government, state governments, corporations, what you said, do gaj ki duri. So these are certain things which are primarily visible in terms of what every industry is following. So fine, I think that answers the first question. Let's move to the second question. My second question would be to Mr. Venkatesh. Work from home is becoming the new normal. How do you think would this impact business and employee?
Yeah, I guess work from home. Yeah, we have also found out that it's not required to actually. There used to be debates that why don't we have a 5-day a week, and why should we have a 6-day a week? We have second and fourth Saturdays off, and we said no, you're an FMCG industry, FMCG company, guys, you need to come, or sales guys need to be in offices or in the market. And if the sales guys are there, why don't the corporate guys also be there? So all of those debates used to happen. Now all those myths have crashed. So I think you can work from home. Sales guys believe that you can distribute products from home, and it can be through wholesale. Even at least 70% of the retail are open. And so how do we ensure retail supply? And it's on and off. April was very bad. May, June looked better. And July has become really, with the second lockdown beginning up, and it's become really bad. So work from home is an alternative, according to me. That's my bias, actually. In a situation like this, work from home is good. But if I were to ask you, if you have to do a goal alignment exercise, obviously the factories have to work. People cannot operate from home. So factories necessarily have to work in a manufacturing environment. We need to ensure people come to offices. We need to ensure their safety. We need to ensure their mindset, all of those. Now, I think importantly, going back to office, I don't think we can run away from it, because there is a lot of interaction that happens across the different functions. Or if we have to do a goal alignment exercise, I'm just taking an example, and if we have to go off-site and build certain interdependence with other functions, that needs to happen. Though we can do it through Zoom, obviously the focus and the engagement is not there when you do it through a digitized mode. So it can be that's, and honestly my bias, but in the long run, I guess that's an area of research. I'm sure employees also, though they used to say that coming to office is really boring and it's not good, but on the other hand, on the flip side of it, you would hear staying at home is not so good also. We would like to get back to office, meet my friends, and I need to get this work done even more effectively than how I'm doing it. So the silo effect is more, according to me, in my bias.
Fine.
So while we are, managing, maneuvering, and all of those things are happening, but I guess, we got to get back to offices, and that's the way it will operate.
Right. So that gives me an idea, which I'll ask the question to Vivek. Vivek, work from home. I mean, how can an employer look at discipline, infra, and productivity? How these three things can be measured if we allow people to work from home? What's your say on that?
Prashant, I'll also, after Vivek completes, I'll also share some of the process steps that we are following today on all those three aspects.
Sure. Vivek, you
unmute yourself.
So I think this is a very good question to ask, because the fact of the matter is that there are apprehensions about work from home. They were there in our senior managers also. And in the first instance, we had no choice. We had to implement work from home because offices were closed. But as we got a little more experience, we realized that actually there are certain roles which you can do well from home and have clear measurables, and you can also measure the productivity. There were certain other roles which are harder. So, we found that about 80% of the kind of roles we have probably can be done from home. But 20%, it's very hard to do. Design work and other work which requires people to work together for long periods. Whenever you have a screen in front of you, that collaboration becomes much more difficult. For example, design people had to work with physical samples. How do you do that when you are, working on Zoom? So I think first, in the long run, I think organizations will have to categorize work as what can be done from home, what can be done from home and office both, and what can only be done in office. And that will have to be done. That's on the work side. Second is what Venkatesh very clear, mentioned, which is that, there is a social need which is also fulfilled by coming to office and meeting people. And while we might say that Zoom is equally good, the fact is it is probably not as good. And after some time, you feel like coming to office. The third aspect is that, work from home means that you must have a place at home which is undisturbed where you can work. Now, that may not be the case with all employees. If let's say an employee is only staying in a 2-room apartment with his family, if you ask him to work from home for long hours, you have cut his actual available space to half. Where will his family and children go? So we also found that as something which some employees, they used to call us and say, it's not that easy for me to work. And when we understood it, it was basically that they had no place. So I think ultimately we will have to take a more rational view of this is a pandemic situation. You can't do much about it. You'll have to do the best you can. But in the longer term, work from home will certainly go up, but I don't think it will supplant office totally.
Right. Thanks, Vivek. I think a very valid point. Space constraint is one of the practical things which we see coming across all regions. Sanjeev, what's your view on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with both. Particularly picking on the point that Vivek said, that these physical constraints of working from home, which is experienced by few people simply because of the infrastructure that they have, is definitely one. I will add the issue of bandwidth to it,
Yes.
because not everybody will stay in a place where connectivity is at its best, with even if they have a broadband connection at home, which I would presume, though in our case we have found out a lot of people where people started working from home and then they realized that they didn't have bandwidth and they didn't also have anybody else to come and fix it for them during the initial couple of weeks. So therefore those were those things that actually made us think that, look, yeah, there are these certain challenges. What cannot, however, I will still believe, because having come in from a sector in my earlier life where work from home was actually, was not unheard of. I mean, I myself have worked, a lot of days because of certain constraints, and also I've stated I chose to stay at home and work. And there I used to think, that working from home will help me concentrate. But that was like a choice. But here, when you are in that situation where you have to really sit down, work from home, and unfortunately, if there is an ailing parent or an ailing family member, if you have kids around who are moving around you, these are the distractions which definitely come across the productivity. So yes, the new normal is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do, maybe as managers and as organizations, in our organization, we have tried to do as much, is to keep, again, those communication channels on and handholding people through this, giving them that leeway. If you can't work, so for first half in the morning, fair enough, you take your time and you finish your deliverable.
Sure.
At least trying to make people aware about those. Yeah.
Right, Sanjeev. Govind.
Yeah, yes. Coming from a manufacturing background, I would say work from home is a no-go, because I can't shift my pressing machine to home. So, and I can't, push my CNC machine to home. So 75 to 80% of the people have to be in place, and only 20% which are related to sales probably, and some of the official, office staff and senior management team can still continue to work from home. However, as you said, there is always a deliberation on how can you, monitor their performance, whether connectivity is okay or do they have a separate room. All this comes. And as we were discussing before the discussion, that the challenge is one section of the people are working physically here and another section of the people are working at home. And people who are working here, they feel always that they are being given chance to enjoy at their home, which is not, of course. And I would always prefer to work from office, because it's very easy. See, considering this situation, if you take proper care, I don't think the infection is going to touch you. And you only have to be disciplined in this situation. So that's my view, and I agree with others as well.
So yeah, so let's listen 30 seconds quick from Venkat. He wanted to speak about this point. Yeah, Venkat.
No, I think Vivek has covered, Sanjeev. So I was only talking about productivity. On the other hand, productivity is far more when you work from home, because there is a feeling of guilt from the employee, and there is a possible feeling of distrust from the immediate manager.
Yes.
And we have Google Sheets, which are there, wherein somebody has to fill the tasks get allocated. And so the employees are completing the task and sending it across. But still, there is a feeling that the manager, possibly any of the managers, would have, saying that he's sitting at home, why can't he do this also, this as well, that as well. So actually, the sleep cycles have changed. And I think the stress levels are more, and the work-life balance is becoming, imbalanced. I guess when the employee came to office, there was far better work-life balance and far better trust levels. And so, of course, there are mechanisms of ensuring discipline and ensuring productivity, all of those. But I think it comes at the cost of engagement. So that's my experience, and possibly GPTW or Gallup can do a better research on this and let us know what's been the engagement level at the point of lockdown across various geographical parts of the world.
Right.
That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah. So this brings a question here, that since most of you have said that, okay, work from home is possible to some extent of functions or set of people, industries and all. And there are certain industries and certain set of functions which can't work. They have to come to office and operate. For those set of people who can work from home, or the companies, and we can hear a lot of news where organizations are talking about the entire year as work from home and possibly going forward. So remote working is the word which they are talking mostly today. So from that perspective, if I ask a question that, what do you think on the compensation structure, work from home allowance or change in variable pay structure? Do you see a possibility of having some change there where we can emphasize more on these structure rather than the ones which were there earlier? So let's start with Sanjeeb.
Yeah, Prashant, very aptly put. And so I think the way I am seeing, and with my interactions and all, and also to look at the overall scenario that we all are going through, I do foresee really a change in the overall remuneration structure for people who may choose to work from home, because there have been organizations who have actually announced the roles where people can work from home. May not necessarily be in manufacturing though, but yeah, but out there are certain allowances and certain at least reimbursements to start with. For example, if somebody has to work from home and therefore the person would need say broadband, then it is but obvious to reimburse to that person. What few organizations have gone ahead and done for this kind of roles, so they have maybe replaced the transport allowance if they were paying it with this. So the amount of cash that the person is making is more or less the same. However, it is now for a different purpose. You put up this point, on variable pay, and here I see a lot of things coming up, because the measurement of performance, or the process of measurement of performance, is now surely going to change. Things like so productivity, I think particularly for the work from home roles, managing productivity, as we all said, I don't think we have been able to still hit the nail, saying that, okay, how do we effectively measure productivity? Google Sheets and all are fine, but again, people would look at what is the time of how many hours the person has logged in from home, so on and so forth. I see, however, I see this paradigm shifting more towards productivity than the number of hours as much. Yeah.
Okay.
I see this more also the factor of team engagements coming in, because really, I mean, when people start to work as per the rule, I mean, as per the rule book, the desired productivity that we would need from people who are working from home is not going to come. So therefore, a huge scope in terms of employee engagement. Therefore, similar matrices coming in for compensation decisions, as well, is what I do foresee.
Let's hear from others. Vivek, what is your thought on this?
I think for roles where work from home becomes the norm, there will be some changes in compensation, and that's also because in general companies are looking at ways to optimize compensation in this time. So I am hearing it from some of our leaders that if a person works from home, then he doesn't have to travel. So therefore, he's actually spending less. Now, on the other hand, so that may mean that, let's say, the transportation allowance and other things get eliminated from the compensation of people who primarily work from home. Some costs. I mean, you have to, as I said, if you are working from home, you must have some setup there. So maybe there would be some work from home allowance, which will kind of compensate employees there. But I think the larger point is what both Sanjeeb and Venkatesh alluded to, which is how do you measure people who you are not seeing on a continuous basis? How do you really measure their productivity? And also, what impact will it have on engagement? Working from home, what impact will it have on engagement and hence on the productivity? I think these are the two longer term aspects that we have to see, because they trust them more. They are more assured. they know that this person is in office, therefore he is working. But when the person is at home, and you can't police everyone all the time. So when the person is at home, if the assumption is that if he is not in front of the Zoom, then he is not working, then that is going to lead to a lot of problems. So I think for work from home to become successful, productivity metrics and engagement piece will have to be put in place. And there is work which needs to be done in both these areas.
Sure. So Venkat, question to you. I'll do a slight twist in this question where the variable pay, most of the employees, if you look at today, have this fixed and variable component to their CTC. Fixed normally takes care of their travel, whatever they are doing. I mean, since they go to office every day and there are some cost to it. Now, since they're going to work from home, do you think there would be a change in terms of reduction in fixed and giving more variable component high so that their productivity goes, they are more motivated to perform better?
My bias would be that would be very unfair, because honestly, I have the philosophy, I hold the philosophy that even before pre-COVID as well, saying that I don't care where you spend your time, whether you are in office, whether you are at home, when you're talking about flexi hours, you be wherever you are, but you got to deliver, right? So as long as you deliver, your variable pay gets done. So what's of the job is what you get paid for the variable. How's of the job? The goals are linked to the variable compensation. And the competencies are linked to the salary increases, because as you go up, competencies change, right? So I don't see, because any case variable or compensation is a function of business performance and individual performance.
Fine.
Now, if the capacity to pay is going to be impacted because of your distribution abilities or market realities, then obviously you need to restructure the compensation, aligning it to your capacity to pay. So then you may not want to, reduce somebody's salary. So you may want to bring the variable, saying that I would want to convert a part of the fixed into a variable, which is going to come at the cost of some amount of disgruntlement. I wouldn't say disengagement, but as long as you also enable the employee in helping her or him on how to achieve the variable. Because these are the testing times where your competency is under test. Somebody said e-commerce business is growing. In a normal FMCG company, the guys who have been into the normal trade, which is wholesale or retail, now that's come down. And how do I go to e-commerce channel, and how do I increase my sale on e-commerce? So innovation, every employee needs to be innovative, saying that, okay, I couldn't do this. This requires, for example, if I have to look at the sales productivity or sales recruitment skills. Now, recruitment does not stop, but the quality of recruitment impacts the attrition. Now, if I had to do this project, I would have normally believed I should go into the market and do it. Now, I can't go to the market, or I may be able to go to the market only a few number of times than what I would have wanted to. So hence talking to the guys over the phone, understanding them. So those are the methods of still managing and delivering it, but subject to market realities. So we need to find thresholds, limits for it, and we need to have data orientation. So these are going to test somebody's potential and performance.
Fine. So let's hear from Govind on the same question. Along with Govind, I'll just add a few more things to it. That the travel, shift, canteen, seating structures, meeting rooms, insurance, etc. You see all these HR policy, part of HR policy, which are getting revisited. So
yes, this is a valid policy. Yeah, this is a valid question, Prashant. I will answer. The first one is work from home, whether you need a realignment in the pay structure. See, my thought is, first one, I don't see any realignment is required, because it is beneficial for both employee as well as organization, where it is possible and feasible. I would quote this, where possible and feasible. When it is possible and feasible, and as it benefits both, and there is a cost saving for both of the employee as well as organization, because the employee is not required to come to the organization, he can spend his time constructively, all those things. And for the employer, it is a saving on the overheads, like your canteen or transportation, whatever it is. Maybe where there is a mismatch from the employee point of view, where he has to spend some money on his laptop or Wi-Fi or whatever it is, there I think the employer is to look into certain reimbursement of kind of a things where it helps the employee. So otherwise, other than this, I think the same structure what he has should help. And coming back to your question, yes, of course, realignment or revisiting of all your policies has become necessary, because the employer has to run the industry, and meanwhile he also has the responsibility to take care of his employees' safety and to avoid the infection coming into your industry. And coming back to your travel, see, and if you look at two possibilities here, one, the employer has got the transportation facility, another one has got employer has no transportation facility. So where employer has got transportation facility is added cost to the employer, because now in the transportation facility you have to have a social distancing, and in place of one vehicle you have to hire two vehicles, because only in the two, in one to two seats you can only one person can sit. So these are the changes which
Okay.
look into it. So coming back to this travel, and coming back to shift. So as far as the guidelines are concerned, so you have to maintain that there is appropriate gap between the shifts. So therefore you can't have a continuous shift operation. You have to have adequate gap. See, this adequate definition is what? Whether it is 15 minutes or 20 minutes, considering your strength of the people, you have to see how much gap is required. So because of this, you always have a problem also. And also there is a less manpower for the people to work. Based on this, you have to realign your shift operations. Then coming back to canteen, of course, in the canteen, this is where you will see a lot of possibilities where the infection is coming from outside, because the vegetables have to be brought from outside, or if you are catering, then the catering person has to come from outside and deliver, and you don't know where they will go. So that is why the companies are nowadays relooking whether you can promote the employees to bring their food and even the water from the home. That is one, introducing some canteen allowance and other things. So these are the changes you need to look into it. And
right, I think
coming back, I will last one, your layout changes. Because I already talked about it, because of the social distancing, you have to look into your workplace, and then you also realign to accommodate this 2 gaz ki duri or something like that. So these are the changes definitely you need to look into your policy framework.
Right. Thanks, Govind. I think we will ask the same question to retail industry, where Vivek, I would like to have your input. Along with that, do you think with these policy changes to bring the trust in the employee, should we look at forming committees or redressal cells, or maybe some external audit, to understand where we are? So what is your thought on that?
On the facilities and real estate side, including the facilities that we give to our employees, I agree that some of the things which were considered to be the hallmark of a good office, like canteen facilities, recreation, and all of that, will frankly not be considered as being very important. I mean, we are, and like Govindaraju said, many of our employees actually said that please do not serve outside food in the canteen. So they themselves came and said that, because of the safety concerns. So everybody is bringing their own food. Also, some of the other common spaces where people used to meet and let's say sit and either play a game or things like that, that's also not being done anymore because of social distancing and others. So I think on the office side, this whole thing about having a great office with a lot of facilities as a way to engage employees, that whole concept is under some amount of disruption. Office is now a place where minimum number of people come because they have to, and they go back, rather than anything else.
Yeah.
As far as committees are concerned, yes. So Prashant, for safety and for understanding how the employees are feeling, we have also instituted, we have instituted a safety committee, and we already had a committee of employees, which was mainly for employee related engagement activities. Those committees, we have now said that, safety, for it to be really, one is to enforce it top down, but more importantly, if it considered very important by the employees and it's enforced through this committee, we believe that is a better way of doing it. So therefore, there is a safety is at our head office, and we've also constituted regional committees for our regions, which ensure that the safety protocols are followed in our stores. So that we have done. And for engagement, again, we have a committee at our head office and in the regions. And primarily the engagement today is about communication. It is about making the employees aware of what is going on. Because there are a lot of concerns employees have that, you know, how has the business been impacted? Will we get our salaries? So it's not so much of the original engagement that we used to do where we used to do a lot of other things. It is primarily company-related communication and business-related communication and answering questions which the employees are having. Because we believe that is the best way we can serve the employees now. Nobody is expecting us to do what we used to do, let's say 6 months earlier. But people are expecting us to at least be honest and let them know how the organization is moving forward. So these are some of the things we have done.
Yeah, with paucity of time, we have only 10 minutes to go. What we'll do, we'll hear from Venkatesh about this, that what's happening in FMCG industry. Then we have one of the important topics which we are going to talk about, which Govind will take it up, which is on the wage code. So we'll spend 5 minutes on that all put together, and then we'll get into question answer session. So Venki, to you, 60 seconds, what is your thought on that?
On the question that you asked, yeah?
Yes, the question was, in fact, the committees or possibly, how to build the trust in employees.
I think, I agree with Vivek, and I think the point is that we need to have committees where it is really necessary. Now the focus is on the employee safety and building employee confidence. So to that extent, I think the entire management team has to come together. And obviously, one of the most important committees is a COVID war room. And we have created a COVID war room to monitor on a daily basis who is getting impacted and what are the remedial action. Do we have a 24/7 hotline where anybody can call and get doctor's advice and get that going? And we have also had some bit of insights and inputs from the management team, also from the managers on the insurance, possibly the term life insurance, group term life insurance. How does it, do we need to enhance to ensure employee confidence? And also employees have a lot of doubts on their hospitalization insurance. What will get if an OPD level testing? So if he goes to the market and contracts infection, now if he has to go and get the testing done, so are we going to pay for it or are we not going to pay for it? So these are some things that we discuss as a committee, you call it as a group. So essentially on safety and employee confidence and building trust, I think we need to have those core work groups, I would call, and it could be across, levels for people to participate and get better insights on it. That's my.
Sure. So Sanjeeb, 30 seconds. Would like to touch upon?
Yeah, just particularly on this committees, what I'm also seeing, and I think the government is also kind of working on it, is this whole aspect of grievance, particularly POSH, because I think the POSH rule is undergoing a little change based on, particularly for people who are working from home, because there is a feeling that the current rules do not really, capture this aspect as well. We always used to think things happening, at a physical workplace. So this I foresee to be coming up. And I think in every organization, along with the leadership team, for us, it has been true, and the leadership team has been, leading the whole matter of communication and, telling people straight away, proactively, what is coming, what we are going through, and so on and so forth. That cannot be taken away. But I think all of us as leaders, and most importantly, wherever we have the grievance committees, etc., they have a big role to play, because right now, remember, we are also handling people's emotions sitting at home, which are not same which are in office. So therefore, we need to be emotionally intelligent, if I may.
Sure. So fine. I think because we are now hard pressed with time, the final question which I would like to ask Govind, on the code of wages. So relaxation in labor laws by UP and MP state government few weeks back, and then we just saw that cabinet has approved the wage code. So what do you think will it have impact on, in current times? So over to you, Govind, talk about. the subject.
Thanks, Prashant. I hope I have some 6-7 minutes to deliberate on this. First one, today's need is also to, relax certain labor laws, which will help the employers to, continue their business, and it is important. And we are seeing that most of the states, including UP, MP, and Karnataka, Gujarat, everybody is bringing their own, statutes which, relax basically on, working conditions and industrial relations laws. And if I have to talk about what UP and MP has done, so UP has brought an ordinance and MP has also brought an ordinance. But if you look at this, because this has received a lot of criticism, because in India you can't change everything, because it's not quite easy, because India is also a founding member of ILO. There are 8 conventions where we have signed, ratified 6 conventions, and there are certain restrictions based on human rights. So because of this criticism, UP has now withdrawn, and any change we make, there should, we should not go beyond, these rights which we have conferred on the employees. Therefore, the UP has now withdrawn it, but the MP has not done some drastic changes. It is continued, and Karnataka recently brought, extended the working hours, which they also had to withdraw the notification because of the violation, because these changes or relaxation they can only do when there is a real public emergency. But whereas the COVID-19 situation does not amount to public emergency, therefore there are all chances that these legislations or changes will get struck down by the courts. Therefore, some of the states are withdrawing it. But as I said, this relaxation is definitely necessary. Certain things like threshold limits, all those things, but not beyond the rules. Moreover, bringing the state legislations to central where central already has got a law, it's not quite easy, because as long as it is not received the president assent, then this will not be held as within the law. So therefore it's quite difficult, but some of the states have gone ahead and have done it, and even Karnataka is also preparing for it. And these are the things, and if some of these basic where employer is facing problems is relaxed, this will boost the economy and also industrialization, that is sure, but subject to not to violate any human rights or any basic legislations like minimum wages, working conditions. So any legislations they bring or any changes they bring, they should not violate these ILO conventions or basic rights which we have ensured. So this is about the amendments which state governments is bringing. And now I'm coming back to the wage code. As all of you know, that recently, you are able to hear, Prashant?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so in 2019, we saw wage code 2019 getting passed in the parliament, and today we are seeing codification of all labor legislations in India, and it is a first step. And the wage draft rules recently notified by the Labor Department of Union Government, and this is published on 7th July 2020, and there is an objection period of 45 days, which will expire on 20th. So if you compare the old draft and new draft, I don't see any real changes, because all of us, being from HR Forum, being from Employers Association, we gave a lot of recommendations to the central government, but 98 to 99% have not been accepted. I could see only 2 changes. One is on the working conditions for working hours for employees under minimum wages. So there it was 9, it was mentioned. Now they have brought it to 8, which we also recommended that it is unfair if people who are working in, who are covered under these minimum wages work for 9 hours, and whereas factories and shops and establishment talks about 8 hours. So therefore that was accepted. The another change is they have added one rule with related to basically where, when you are paying this undispersed amounts where nomination is filed and where no nomination is filed, there is only one rule is added, but there is no change in that. So that is one it, and I will take 1 or 2 more minutes to tell you some highlights about this wage code. Basically this why wage code rule is necessary, because as a law it gives you a certain provisions, and the implementation is left to the appropriate government. So appropriate government being central government or state government, because the the labor matter is in the concurrent list. Therefore, any legislation which is brought, the appropriate government, either the state government or the central governments, have to implement it. So therefore, these rules are applicable only to the industries who are covered under central government as per the definition of appropriate government. And it is for the jurisdiction of the state government, state has to either adopt these rules or also they can also bring their own rules. However, there are certain things where the central government has the power to make rules. For example, with related to bonus, where how do you calculate bonus, what is the schedule, all those things the central government has actually defined in this. And major key things which I would like to say is that from the wage code there is no now scheduled concept. Now they have brought 3 areas where they have classified into 3 zones, where metro, non-metro and rural. And by this definition, I think we will see a more parity in wages, minimum wages, maybe across the country, because that is the intention of it. And the skill definition has come into now the wage code rules, because earlier so far these definitions were used to be in the minimum wages notification. Now I think the central government has taken up this point, and they have also defined this skills. And however, one thing, on what basis you notify the minimum wages is there is a schedule E is attached. However, if I look at the schedule E, these are basically related to skilled, unskilled, and highly skilled or semi-skilled jobs. Whereas the wage code intends to cover all the employees, including supervisory as well as managerial category of people. You stop me, Prashant. Otherwise, I will go on.
Yeah. Another 1 minute. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So. Because it is my favorite topic, if you give me time, I will go on speaking.
No, I understand. We will have a different session on this for sure for the rest of the team.
Yeah, good. So the wage code, intends to cover all the employees, including supervisory and managerial people, but the rules does not cover these kind of occupations. That is, I think, one of the lacuna in the future we have to liberate. And the wage code rules also defined certain rules related to working hours, overtime, all those things. But the necessity of defining the wage code rules is basically, most of the industries are covered either in the Factories Act or Shops and Establishment Act, but there are certain occupations are not covered. So therefore it is necessary. And the floor wages also, the procedure is defined. And I think there are many more points.
So, Govind, what I suggest, maybe if you have written something or if you have a detailed note on this, since we have all the participants' detail here with us, we would like to share a link with them or maybe a write-up for their benefit. I mean, I'm sure there would be a lot of questions which may come up. So looking at the time paucity, and I'm sure others would have some engagement, what we do, we'll try to restrict this discussion here. And I can see a couple of questions which people have asked. So maybe I'll like to, share those questions with you. And let's hear your views on that. Possibly, I'll also like to chip in there. So the first question is from Rajaram Thorve, where he says that, how do you monitor the performance productivity of employees who are working from home? Do we discuss, maybe, Vivek, would you like to pick it up and talk about this?
Yeah, so, see, I mean, in my mind, just because a person is working from home, parameters do not change. They remain the same as what if he was working from office. I think it is more about frequency with which they should be measured, because when you are out of sight, managers need to know that you are actually making progress on the deliverables that you are accountable for, right?
True.
So I think what will change is not only how performance is measured, but at what frequency, and how is it made known to the manager who is not seeing you physically in the office. So I think that's what will undergo a change. As far as performance measurement itself is concerned, you need to have clear measures for every role, whether it is work from home or from office.
Absolutely, I agree. So benchmark and yardstick are very important for any function, any department, or any type of job which we need to do. A standard answer can't be here for this question. It depends on which industry we are in, what functions are there, and basis that our yardstick will change. It can be time bound, it can be job specific, it can be work related. So those are the elements which needs to be looked at. I mean, answer to you, Rajaram. The second question is, what is the yardstick being used to measure the performance? So as I said, yardstick. Let's hear from Venkatesh. What, as per you, should be the yardstick to measure the performance from your industry specific?
So honestly, key deliverables do not change. So the review mechanisms have to change. So the accountability shifts both to the employee and the manager. So obviously, if you were reviewing on face to face, in any case in a performance management system in India, it was not in any case in a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis. Even getting quarterly reviews or half-yearly reviews were very tough. So it used to happen only once in a year, unlike the West, where feedback mechanism was happening on a daily basis. So this is a great opportunity for a manager to look at opportunities to engage and figure out what are the challenges that the employee is facing and keep your KRAs. Obviously, we used to tell the employees to keep your key deliverables in front of you pin it on a softboard. Now the employee is concerned. So what's going to happen at the end of the year? So he or she is going to review the KRAs on a daily basis and look forward to the manager. These are the stumbling blocks or roadblocks. How could you help me? So that's where the dialoguing which is the most essential part of performance management is going to happen. So it needs to come by a push, either from the manager or from the employee. And the manager's endeavor it needs to be a pull rather than a push in times like this where stress is already there. So this is a great opportunity to engage and find innovative ways. And I can give examples like that, figure out what are the roadblocks and jointly work together. What is the best possible result that you could expect and what should be the rating for it, and define that. So if I had pre-COVID session, exceptional performance ke liye, if I had a measure of success,
Right.
now how does it change and what is the threshold and what is the maximum that we could go?
Good.
That dialogue needs to happen and that incident can be recorded.
Right, Venkat. So
if I can add here,
coming to, yeah, so Sanjeeb, I will add one more element to it, with which the third question is, what is the criteria to take decision as to who would work from home? I mean, of course, productivity, of course, is part of it. So maybe you can add there a point there as well.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So just to add to what Vivek and Venki has aptly said, I will just see that I see a role of KPIs over here, which is going to really make or break these decisions on making performance management much more objective. Because generally, what used to happen, we used to maybe we didn't focus as much on the KPIs to the goals. Basically the measure of success for the goals, and there I see a much more opportunity for the manager and the teams to engage and create and make it based on achievement completely. And again, yes, it is an opportunity. It is difficult. It is people are seeing it as a challenge, but it is, I think, again an opportunity to reopen the dialogues between the teams, and most importantly the relationship between the manager and the subordinate, completely focusing on the performance stroke deliverable. Coming on to the other question, Prashant, it is like sorry, can you just repeat it for me? I just lost my thought.
Yeah, so it was that, what is the criteria defined to work from home?
I think here we would need to, as an organization, and all organizations, we need to identify the job roles. It is not going to be person based, probably. It is going to be the job role based, and thereafter the person thing comes in. So if a job role, in the current circumstances of the organization, if the job role can be done remotely, I think it is best to put as a work from home job role, and whosoever the person is doing that can therefore be allowed to work from home. Here the decision needs to be completely based on the fact and not as such on the person per se. We at times get a little bias, maybe either for or against, in terms of, okay, this person cannot. So those decisions can come in, but I think it is the job role and the requirement of the job role. As Vivek said, that the fashion designers may not be able to work from home. They need to see a sample. They need to work together. So these kind of things will come in. I think it is the job role.
Yeah. So there's a question from Mr. Deepak Deshpande. And he is the CHRO for NTT NetMagic. What impact do you think COVID will have on compensation strategy? How will employee legal, compliance, and risk challenges be addressed due to COVID? Do you anticipate any changes? Question. Anybody can pick.
see, I think we have deliberated about the compensation structure already. I would say, I don't see any, I would don't, recommend any changes to the compensation structure. This is only where the employee has got a, mismatch or something. That is where you need to look into certain realignment. So of course, other panelists can also add on to it. So my thought is, I don't see anything need to be changed other than this, managing the mismatch of the cost.
Okay. Vivek, any thought on this?
No, I think on the compensation strategy, I mean, one general impact of COVID will be that compensation will remains the same or go down because companies will conserve cash, and that will happen across the board. That is because of the business impact of COVID. And the other change could be because of people working part-time also. So I'm actually seeing in some of the companies, I'm seeing a trend that because the amount of work has come down, people are substituting full-time employees with part-time employees. So that will also lead to on the legal compliance and risk side, I think like we discussed in our, earlier, definitely, employees might hold the company liable in case of any safety related errors. And I think also the regulatory agencies will keep a watch on whether employees are paying, on time, and whether the legal framework is being adhered to by the employers. More so because this is a point when the employees also will be very stressed out, and any deviation on the part of the employers will be, they will raise an issue.
Okay,
So,
Prashant.
yeah.
Yeah, please, sir, please.
No, so I think, to kind of look at it, definitely the safety aspect and the compensation paying compensation on time and fairly. These would be some of the very important things at this time.
Yeah, Prashant, just to add in 30 seconds, Dr. Deepak Deshpande question also, do you anticipate any changes? Because if you look at this COVID-19 situation, there are liabilities are also added to employer. For example, what happens if there is a COVID-19 case in your company, or when they have to be quarantined? Are you going to take care of them, their costs, including the paid leaves, everything? This is the liability which is being widely in the media and also in the industries. And as of now, there are no strict legal regulations for this. Some of the states have issued a circular, especially only few states have issued that you have to take care of paid leaves for COVID-19 issues. And whereas in many of the states, these are not there. And recently, there is High Court judgment in Karnataka, where in your industry, if there is a COVID-19 and you have to quarantine certain people, it is your responsibility to take care that their quarantine period and the COVID-19 period is covered under your liability. So these are the changes I would see that these are coming.
Yeah, just to add to that, Prashant. So in this particular period, yes, due to whatever the regulatory or the legal orders that are coming out, but most importantly, the company's business in most organizations, I think the business has also been affected. So companies are under stress. I do foresee a change in the compensation strategy. Therefore, to respond to Dr. Deshpande, as Vivek also rightly said, I'm seeing this trend has already started, that the moving the job roles from a full time to a part time. Yeah, we are engaging. Temps or the part time workers, if I may. Not workers, part time people who can do part time assignments. The gig economy, if I can put that up, that is coming up, and I think therefore for them it was definitely not going to be the same way as a general full time worker would have been paid. Have we got an answer yet? No, I think but these thoughts have started coming in, which are definitely going to have, an impact in the future.
Prashant, you have to unmute.
Sure. Sorry, I kept on mute. Yeah. So with that, what I'll suggest, since we have many questions, coming up, and now we are already 15 minutes ahead of the time, what I'll suggest that I'm sure, few of you could ask some questions, but many of you couldn't. There is a, mail ID which I would like to give you, info.compliance@teamlease.com. All those people who couldn't, get their answers, or possibly they couldn't ask questions, please mark it to us. We will place it with all our panelists, and we'll come back with the answers. Surely we'll get back to you in terms of whatever responses we get from them. At the same time, you should also visit the website, teamleasecompliance.com, where all the latest update, whatever changes, amendments, notifications are coming, that's real time being given. We also have our, a mobile app, which you can download on your Android or iOS platform, which is completely free of cost. So all these things will answer your questions to a large extent, other than your specific ones, which we are more than happy to answer. So they give, actually, as I said, that it gives a real-time and relevant information, which is required for your business and day-to-day operations. So with that, guys, once again, I would like to thank all of you and dear panelists for taking out time. This was indeed enriching and a quite interesting discussion. Stay tuned for the next webinar. We are going to have month on month. We will have a new topic. Hopefully it should be mostly related with, a detailed discussion on code of wages. And it will be next month sometime. We will give you the dates and all, and we'll have new sets of panelists with new subjects. So thank you all for joining, guys. Stay safe and stay connected. Thanks.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Prashant and others.
Thank you all co-panelists. Thank you very much. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure meeting all of you, and thank you so much.
Thanks once again, everyone.
Bye-bye.